first Wednesday night supper will be held on February the 4th, which is next Wednesday at 6:30, and then we'll have prayer service at 7, and the menu is soup and chili. And then on February the 8th, the WMU will be meeting here at the church at 3 p.m. Then the Brotherhood will be meeting here at the church on February the 14th at 8 a.m. The Seniors Valentine Party has been rescheduled for February the 21st at 6 p.m. And they still signing up, right? We can still sign up if you hadn't signed up to come for the 21st. And then on Sunday, February the 22nd, we'll be going to 301 Wings in Fayetteville to assist Serving Hope in helping with the homeless, giving out food, clothes, toiletry items, toys at 3 p.m. And I think that Sunday also they're feeding the kids or who is participating in going with that mission here at the church right after church. And then they're going to have some activities. And I think they're planning on leaving here about 2:15 to go to Fayetteville. Then the WMU is still collecting stuffed animals until the end of April to give to the Fayetteville Police Department to give out to the children that's involved in accidents or whatever the situation is, crisis situation, and to help them with the healing process. And then I just pray we will be in prayer for the upcoming revival. It'll be starting on March the 15th at 7 p.m., running through Wednesday, March 18th, 7 p.m. And the speaker is going to be Reverend Matthew Creech. He's the pastor over at Hickory Grove Baptist Church on 421 between Clinton and Spivey's Corner. Anybody else got anything that I missed? February the 23rd, the Region 3 North Carolina Baptist Mission be holding their event that they do every quarter, and it's going to be at Lumberton this year or this time. So if anybody wants to go, I think they feed at 5:45. Just let me know because I'm planning on going. Anybody got anything? Well, not, we'll get started in Daniel chapter 11, and it's a long chapter. I think it's got 45, 46 verses. Verse 1, it says, "Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I stood to confirm and to strengthen him." Now here, after I read this, I was kind of confused. But what they're talking about, this I here they're talking about in the first year, is actually talking, it ain't talking about Daniel, it's talking about the angel Gabriel. That played a role already with Daniel. But here it says Gabriel, the context, this verse is part of a larger prophecy in Daniel 11, which details a series of conflicts and events involving various kingdoms, primarily focuses on kingdoms of the north and south of Israel. But Gabriel's role here is he reveals that he played a role in Darius' ascension and subsequent decisions to support the Jewish people. So Gabriel here is playing a role towards Darius, letting him know that he needs to be supporting the Jewish people. And it goes on, it says, strengthening Darius. Gabriel's support included confirming Darius in his position as a ruler and strengthened his resolve to allow the Jews to return to their homeland and rebuild their temple. And the significance, this verse highlights God's sovereignty over nations and rulers, demonstrating that God can use individuals, even those from foreign empires, to fulfill his purposes. It also emphasizes the importance of prayer, as Gabriel's actions were prompted by Daniel's prayers for his people. So here, there's a lot of people don't believe in prayer. They think it's useless. But folks, even Daniel, the prayer he done, it showed me it worked. And we all know that prayers work in our own lives, because we've seen miracles that's happened because of prayer. So we all know, the importance of prayer. But Gabriel is going to help here Darius in his thinking. And it goes on, says, the connection to previous chapters. This verse continues the narrative from Daniel 10, where Daniel was given a vision and was informed about future events. So here in chapter 11 is going to be some of what we then looked at in chapter 10, so that vision that Daniel had. Anybody got anything to add to verse 1? 11, I'm sorry, Adam. 11, verse 2. We fixing to go down to verse 2. You good? Yes, sir. And now will I shew thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet their rings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all, and by his strength, thou his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. So here, it's got it broke down, and now I will tell thee the truth. Here this is a single as a transition to a new section of prophecy. It's emphasizing the certainty and importance of the following revelation, which is fixing to come in chapter 11. That Gabriel was telling them. And it goes on to say, behold, 3 more kings shall stand up in Persia. This refers to the Persian kings following Cyrus the Great, who is mentioned in Daniel 10:1. So they're going to be 4 more kings in here that's in the north and the south regions. And then it goes on to say, and the fourth shall be far richer than them all. So the fourth one is supposed to be richer, more powerful than the other 3 kings that they're talking about here. And it says, this highlights the exceptional wealth and power of the 4th king, who is identified as Xerxes I, But we look now, there's a lot of nations or countries now, they think they're more powerful than anybody else. But guess what? Even with their power, they can't do nothing without God helping them. It's the same with us. We can't do nothing without staying as a nation what we were built upon. And it goes on in verse 2, it says, and by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia. And this here is detailing how Xerxes, his leverage due to his wealth, and he would send out a massive army to invade the Greece. So he's going to do what? Same thing a lot of countries did back then. They had the military power. They tried to overtake countries. And same thing is going on today. Some of these countries, they think, they got a little power, and got the wealth and things, and they tried to show their ability to do things that we all know, but God ain't going to let but so much happen. And here it said in the prophecy in Daniel 11:2, accurately predicted the rise of Persian kings and the subsequent conflict with Greece. Xerxes I, who was just mentioned, the fourth king, did indeed launch a large-scale invasion of Greece in 480 BC, as described in the prophecy. This invasion involved a massive army and naval forces, demonstrating the fulfillment of the verses predicted about his strength and riches being used against Greece according to the historical sources. So even back then, you know, and the Bible speaks of these kind of things because it's right there in Daniel. And sadly, the same thing is going on today. Anybody else got anything to add to 2? No, we'll go to 3. And a mighty king shall stand up, that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. So here, and a mighty king shall stand up. This here refers to the emergency of a powerful ruler, which they're specifying here as the Alexander the Great. You know, that he was at one time a mighty ruler or mighty king. But we all know what happened to him in his later runs. He was dethroned. He was taken care of. And it goes on to say, that shall rule with great dominion. This highlights the extensive territory influence that Alexander's kingdom had, you know. And it goes on in this verse, says, and do according to his will. This emphasizes Alexander's absolute authority and his ability to act according to his own desires, strategies, according to some Bible commentaries, which we all know. Alexander, he was on his own agenda. He was for self. And a lot of times, most countries, that's what they are. They're for themselves. And sadly, we as Christians and non-Christians, a lot of times what we are, we're in it for ourselves. We're trying to do what we can do to better ourselves or get ahead. You know. But we as Christians, we've got something that a non-Christian has. God, he humbles us. He brings us back through the Holy Spirit and lets us know that it ain't about us. It's about the big picture. It's about him. It's about his kingdom. And then it goes on, it says, his kingdom shall be broken. You know, here the foreshadows the eventual fragmentation of Alexander's empire after his death, as his kingdom was divided among his generals. You know, so there it was, when he died, his kingdom was divided. Now, the same thing is going to happen to us. That when we take our last breath and we leave here, there's nothing going to go with us. Not even them clothes that they put on us in that casket. It's going to be left there in the casket. We're going to be gone. You know. The soul's going to be gone. There ain't going to be nothing gone. Nothing left. The key to that, though, is to know where you're going. To have that personal relationship with him. To know. And it goes on, says, and not to his posterity. This indicates that Alexander's descendants would not inherit his unified kingdom, and his empire would be divided among others according to the Bible commentaries. So even Alexander's heirs, his children or descendants, is what it said, is not going to get nothing. It's going to be divided up among others, you know, and we'd hope, I mean, I'm hoping, know what little I have accumulated that I don't take with me, because I ain't taking that with me, but I'm hoping my children or grandchildren will have something. But what happens most of the time when granddaddy, daddy, granddaddy, great-granddaddy leaves stuff? Most of the time, somebody down the line swallows it away. It's gone. I mean, I used to live on a farm with my grandfather back in the late 70s or mid 70s, because he was a row crop farmer and he farmed. And the fellow that owned the house, he owned the land, and we were just staying there in the house and farming. And, you know, his granddaddy and daddy left him well off. But what does he do? He loves to gamble. He gambled through it, and he ended up losing it. And it wasn't only that farm. He lost, I think there was 4 farms that he had. But he lost. He lost a business downtown, but they left him. You know? So that's what happens when you get. Sometimes people don't know how to handle stuff that's been given to them. You know. And like I tell mine all the time, my son, he said, well, you kindly stingy, you kindly, I can't even stand it when they go out the back door and don't pull it to, especially now that it's cold. Don't pull it to, just leave it wide open. You could come out and feel the cold air coming in it. And it gripes me, and they tell me, say, you too old-fashioned. I might be. I said, but you go back out in your house, you can open every door, every window, whatever you want. You paying that light bill. Don't leave my door open. When you go out, pull it behind you. When you come in, close it behind you. Now, if you want to pay the light bill, do whatever you want. But they tell me I'm too old-fashioned. And then it goes on and says, according to his dominion which he ruled, the new rulers did not possess the same level of authority or control as Alexander. So, you know, there it is. You know, and it's the same thing. We'll go back. Things to left at us, you know. If we ain't careful, we're not going to do it and treat it the same as our daddy or granddaddy and grandfather done. It ain't happening, you know. But then they always told me, when you work for it, you know how you got it. You don't get out there and tear it up. I mean, that was the same thing with my first automobile. I bought it. I had to keep it up. I put gas in it. I put tires on it. I didn't get out there and rawhide it, because I didn't know who was going to fix it. You know. But that's just, like I said, my son, he says I'm old school. And I might be, but it's all good. I've got, where'd I stop at? 4? We on 5. Anybody got anything else to say to 4? Before I get started again on the rampage. Old school. Verse 5, it says, and the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes, and he shall be strong above him and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. So it says, and the king of the south shall be strong. This refers to the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, which became a powerful kingdom after Alexander's death. Even it was powerful before his death, but now, it said, that it even got stronger, more powerful. And then it goes on and said, and one of his princes, this is a reference to Seleucus I Nicator, one of Alexander's generals who initially served under Ptolemy. So that was one of the ones that was down line, one of the generals took over. And then it goes on and says, and he shall be strong above him and have dominion. His dominion shall be a great dominion. This indicates that Seleucus, who became more powerful than Ptolemy, eventually established the Seleucid Empire, which encompassed a larger territory than the Ptolemaic kingdom. So here is kind of what the ones who was left, they were trying to fight one another. They were trying to get more. And the same thing's going on today. You get a little bit, we want more. But I'm pretty much guarantee you that we as Christians is just as happy with what we've got today than some of these in Hollywood, billionaires, and got yachts or whatever. I know I'm more happier because I ain't worried about nobody beating me down or try to get it from me. I'm a whole lot happier because, unfortunately, we as Christians has probably got more than they've got mentally. We're probably more happier than they are. Because I'm content, I'm good. Because he's doing what he's promised me he's going to do. He's going to look after me. So that's all that matters. That's all that matters. He's doing what he's promised us. But he would survive our needs. Now, I could write you a whole list of things I would want, but it ain't going to do no good. Anybody got anything to add to 5? If not, we'll go to 6. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. So here's some details of the breakdown of verse 6. After certain years, this is referring to a period after previous conflicts between the two kingdoms. So this year's a little period after the conflict of the two, between the north and the south. And then it said, they shall join themselves together, which just signifies the formation of an alliance in the case of a marriage alliance, So they were trying to join together. They were trying to become one. And it goes on and said, the daughter of the king of the south. This refers to Berenice, daughter of Ptolemy II of Philadelphus, king of Egypt. And then it says, shall come to the king of the north. Bernice is given in marriage to Antiochus II Theos, the king of Syria. So, there is the two. The lady from the south went to the north, and they bonded, and they got married, what it said. Then to make an agreement. this refers to the treaty of peace established through this marriage. So they made a peace between the two nations, you know, that they were going to work together. They were going to be one. Then it goes on and said, but she shall not retain the power of her arm. Bernice's influence and the power is short-lived. So she's not, according to this, but she's not going to have the power, but he's going to have it. But then it says, neither shall he stand nor his arm. Antiochus' power is also undermined. So, you know, evidently there's somebody else taking the power. And then the last one, it says, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in those times. This is part described the downfall and death of Bernice, her attendants, and her supporters. Specifically, Bernice and her son are murdered by Laodice, Antiochus II's former wife, who then regains power. So the one from the south and her son, they were murdered. Yeah. And ain't that some of the same things are going on today? People's all the time killing people for nothing, just to try to get what to get. You know? And we don't have to go far to that. We don't have to be a kingdom or politician or nothing to see that kind of stuff going on. Like I say, last week, just in Cleveland, in the last 3 or 4 months, they've had 4 or 5 killings, shootings. So I don't have to go far to see the same thing going on, and most time it's over what? It's over drugs, or money, or woman or man. You know, and that's what the inmates used to tell me all the time, working. See, 95% of us is in here over 2 or 3 things. They got here for killing a woman or the boyfriend of the woman that they were with money or drugs or alcohol. That's 95% of what they went in prison for. You know, and it's sad. Anybody got anything else to say on verse 6? But it's just this dark world we're in. If not, we'll go to 7. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate, which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north, and shall deal against them, and shall prevail. You know, so here, out of the branch of her roots, it's talking about, this refers to descendants or relatives of the woman mentioned in the previous verse, who was Belize, you know, in which, you know, they talked about a political marriage between them, but she had somebody that's coming, descendants coming from her, out of her roots, coming down to the king in the north, and was trying to rise up and get the power back for the south. And then it goes on to say, shall stand up in his estate. This likely refers to Ptolemy, the third Euergetes, the brother of Bernice. He became king of Egypt after their father died and sought revenge for his sister's murders. You know? So the brother is coming to try to regain what they have lost and for revenge on the sister. It goes on and says, which he shall come with an army. So he's coming against the king of the north with an army. And sadly, you know, we can look at it. I mentioned about the killings and stuff that's going on here. Now, with a lot of the stuff that's going on is gang related. And that's what they do. They've kind of got, in the pecking order, they've got an army under them, and the ones at the top, they call orders to who they want to kill against the other gangs or stuff. The same thing going on here in the countries. You know, that people don't go alone. They always got somebody with them. And then it goes on and says, he shall enter into the fortress of the king of the north. So this brother of Bernice's invaded the Seleucid Empire, capturing the key cities and strongholds. So he went in and he captured the key cities and the strongholds, you know, and he's taken over. Now, pretty much he's trying to take back what he thought was his, and know his sister had lost. And then it says, and he shall deal against them and shall prevail. So it's saying, you know, he was successful in his battle, avenging his sister and gaining the territory back along with the wealth that come with that. So there was one thing about it. He had to have God with him, because he couldn't have done it on his own. No, he had to have God with him. Anybody got anything to add to 7? If not, we'll go to 8. And shall also carry captives into Egypt their gods with their princes and with their precious vessels of the silver and of the gold, and shall continue more years than the king of the north. So here, break this down. And shall also carry captives into Egypt their gods. This referring to Ptolemy, the third Caesar of the religious artifacts and idols from the north, where he just took over during that military campaign, you know. So he went in and he took the religious artifacts and the idols that they had there in the north in that kingdom. And then it goes on with their princes. This indicates the capture of high-ranking individuals, likely officials or nobility, with the conquered territories. So he went in with some ready to do what he was going to do, because he had all his high-ranking officials there, individuals, and was ready to conquer what he set out to do, his mission. It goes on and said, and with the godly vessels of silver and gold. This signifies the acquisition of valuable treasures, including precious metals, as part of the spoils of war. You know, and that's same thing goes on today. Now, when these countries against wars with other countries and stuff, and they invade, they don't just go in there to kill people and burn the stuff down. They try to get all the metals, everything they can, if it's worth something, to take back with them. No, it's kind of like the pirates used to do when they seize a ship. I mean, they don't only want the oil or whatever the boat had. They want everything. And then it goes on, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So this year highlights Ptolemy III's longer reign compared to his rival, the king of the north, in this contest. So it's showing that the king came from the south, or the one came from the south that took over the north, but he's going to reign a whole lot longer than the one in the north had reigned. Anybody got anything to add to 8? No, we'll go to 10. Excuse me, 9. So the king of the south shall come into his kingdom and shall return into his own land. So here, it's kind of self-explanatory. That this verse describes a situation where the king, from the south invaded the north, and after he took it and stuff, he retreats back and goes back to his own land. But the outcome was while Seleucus II managed to reach Egypt, it was ultimately forced to return back to his own territory, leaving the region without gaining any sufficient advantage. So when he didn't really, the king from the south didn't really get no advantage from it. But he had to retreat. And a further interpretation of 9, it says, some interpretation link this verse to the border things of God's control over nations and the fertility of human ambition when not in line with God's purpose. That's the same thing that was happening back then. Same thing's happening today. But, we've got people think that God ain't in control, but God's in control of everything. He's in control, even the believers and the non-believers. Ultimately, he is control when our last breath's going to be, not us. It's just by his grace that he gives it to us. Anybody got anything to add to 9? No, we'll go to 10. But his son shall be stirred up and shall assembly a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and to pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up even to his fortress. The sons of the king of the north. This verse specifically mentions the sons of the king of the north, who are identified as Seleucus III and Antiochus III. They are stirred up to action against the king of the south, which is Egypt. So they're the sons of the king in the north. They're kind of ready. They're ready to go back and take revenge again. And talking about the military conflict, the stirring up, this leads to the assembling of a multitude of great forces, indicating a significant military buildup and a potential invasion. So here the north is now is trying to do what? They're trying to go back to the south and take it back again. And it goes on, says, one shall come. This passage says, one shall certainly come, which is interpreted as referring to the Antiochus III, who will lead the charge. So they're saying, but this general or whoever this military person is, this Antiochus III, he's going to lead it. He's going to be in charge of going back and taking it. And then it's talking about the overflow and the fortress. This Antiochus will overflow and pass through, like referring to his conquest in the region of Israel and Palestine before returning to his own fortified territory. So once he goes through it, and he's coming back. Anybody got anything on 10? Now we'll go to 11. And the king of the south shall be moved with choler and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north, and he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand. says, and the king of the south shall be moved with echo. This indicates that the predominantly the fourth of Egypt, the king of the south, is provoked to action, likely by the action perceived results the king of the north. You know, so the king of the south, he's kind of being provoked now by the kings of the north. And a lot of times that's the same thing that's happening today. One country provokes another one to do things. And it goes on, it says, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. This describes the start of a military confrontation between the two kingdoms. You know, so that this is getting ready. They're ready to start it. And it goes on, it says, he shall set forth a great multitude. Ptolemy raised a substantial army, demonstrating his power and resolve to challenge the Antiochus. So they're ready. They're setting up and getting ready. But the multitude shall be given into his hands. Despite the size of his forces, the king of the south's army is defeated. The narrative suggests that this defeat is only simply a matter of military strategy. But many be part of a larger divine plan. Bible commentaries explain that God is sovereign over human affairs and can orchestrate outcomes that are unexpected. So evidently, see that the one who had the most and the powerful military there, and they were expecting to win this thing, but guess what? The South was defeated. The North came back with their small stuff and defeated them. And that's, you know, that goes to show now. Same thing. When God's got his hand in anything, it's going to happen the way of his plan. And the same thing with us. As long as we stay to him and keep him in it, then his plan is going to be the right way. He's going to lead us all through it. We'll stop right there on 12. Now, this one seems like it's flowing faster, but I'm telling you what, it is. Some of them words or some of them names. If I was back then, ain't no telling what kind of name I'd had. But anybody got anything as far as Daniel 11, 1 through 12, or 1 through 11? If not, we'll close with a word of prayer. Oh, Lord, we thank you for this day. Most of all, I want to thank you for your son. We want to thank you for what Daniel chapter 11 is bringing out, is kind of giving us some history and things that went on back before time. And as we see, though, some of the same things is going on today if it was going on in Daniel's time. We want to thank you for just being with us. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for everything you do for us. And thank you, most of all, for being in our plan and for what you do for us every day. Now, I pray would you continue to be with Concord Baptist Church as we go out and share your love and word to this community. I pray would you take and be with each and every one of us on this long sick list, and I just pray would you uplift them and be with them and just let them know that you love them, that you're going to heal them to your ability to what you think is best for us all, because you know what's best for us, not what we think is best. We just want to thank you for everything you do for us. Now forgive us some many sins, shortcomings. This we ask your name. Amen.